Top of the morning to you. If my Gram was here, she would sing a little ditty and do a Irish jig for you, but I will spare you that. Many of you know me well enough at this point to realize that I am often annoying. In fact, newsflash, you're all annoying too. If we get to know anyone well enough, we start to find out what their little quirks are that drive us bonkers. Susan Hunt, writer, speaker, and encourager extraordinaire, tells this story, which I will repeat with bold embellishment and her permission. Susan's family gathered at her home to go on a picnic. Her two 8-year-old cousin granddaughters ran to the car because they wanted to be able to ride together. The first cousin wore pink capris and sparkly shoes and carried a little furry bag. She flipped her feather boa, glided into the car seat, and patted it for her cousin to join her. The other cousin had on her camos and her Boston Celtics t-shirt, her high-top Nikes. She threw her basketball into the seat, jumped in, slammed the door, and off they went. Pretty Pink Princess started to talk. And she talked about her hair and her nails and her shoes, and she talked, until the camo queen said, "Stop talking! You're hurting my ears." Pretty Pink Princess adjusted her ruffled boa and said, "I just knew one day you were going to annoy me." By the time they got to the picnic, the girls were holding hands, skipping along, all forgiven. Children forgive so much faster than we do, don't they? It gets harder as we grow up. Now, I've been told that this is a chick speech, which is probably about right because I love to talk to women, especially Christian women in Christian venues where I can talk about heaven and anticipating that and getting there, but what's the process? What do we do? How do we live? And I love to talk with teenagers, things like dealing with the death of a friend, or You Can Say No with the subtitle, Alcoholics I Have Known and Loved. But to spare the guys in the audience, I'll move on to a more macho story about Scott. Scott went to kindergarten, and the teachers said, "Scott can't read." They pushed him on year to year, put him in special ed, and then they said, "Scott can't take tests," so they quit giving him tests. But by the time he was in 6th grade, his mother knew that he was smarter than they were giving him credit for. So she pulled him out of that school and put him into a private school where they give him some extra attention. Scott worked and worked and worked. He was annoyed with the other guys that could be getting A's and just did what it took to get by, because he knew how much work he was putting in there just to get the grades enough to be able to play soccer. He made it. He got good enough grades to play soccer. In 10th grade, there was an 11th grade boy on the soccer team who didn't have the social graces. He just didn't quite get it. He was a little awkward, kind of quiet. Well, the captain of the team was a senior. And the captain, for some reason, thought that it was funny that instead of kicking a soccer ball, he was kicking Dom and kicking Dom and kicking Dom until Scotty saw it. Why is it that bullies pick on people that are weaker and smaller than them? Does that make any sense at all? Does that show any kind of strength? It's weak, really. But that's what bullies do. And Scott didn't like it. So Scott got between this team captain, and Scott's only a 10th grader, and Dom, and he said, "Dude, you're done. No more. Stop picking on him." Well, of course, what do you think Dom did? He just laughed at him. But Scott persisted, and within a couple of days, that captain quit picking on Dom. How do you think Dom felt about that? Do you think he felt protected? He really did. And do you think he remembered that his whole life? Because Scott has a natural God-given gift of being a protector. And so Scott graduated from high school. Not only did he graduate from high school, here's a kid who was in special ed all through elementary school. He had gotten good enough grades to get into Pitt's criminal justice program. I'm so proud of this kid. This past December, he graduated. He did really well in forensics. He has a couple of different opportunities to do a police academy internship that he's waiting to hear on. This kid took in adversity, a tough start. He worked hard, and then he took his God-given talent and he built it and developed it. What about you? We all have baggage. Every one of us has something that drags us down that we can blame for just sitting around and watching TV. But you all have a God-given talent. You all have something that you're really good at. So I hope that you will, instead of dwelling on the negative thing that could drag you down, I hope you'll focus on that thing that's really your gift and share it with the rest of the world. You have so many people that you can encourage, and hopefully if you do that, we'll all be less annoying.